righteousness, justice, kindness, tolerance. Where are these principles coming from? They are principles of the kingdom of God. The human society will not function if principles of the kingdom are removed. Even in primitive societies, when people don't know the Bible, they still strive to find these principles and abide by them. Even in Islamic countries, any country, they look for these principles. And that's why they live in peace. Where it is broken, these principles are violated. When people live in societies where there is no love for one another. Okay, let us say, if you say, I don't believe in the principles of the kingdom of God. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in love. Good. Build a society of absolute hate. And let's see what happens. Just do the opposite. If it's absolute hate, nobody will ever go to bed to sleep. And you can tell me why. Because everybody hates the other. If you dare close your eyes, he will just get rid of you before you wake up. Because if he doesn't do it, you will do it for him when he closes his eyes. Nothing works when it's against the principles of the kingdom. Not just in health. But even in life. Even in society. Even in economy. Okay, let's take another example. Let's say you say, well, I don't believe in all those things you are saying. I believe in sin. I want to live in sin. Okay, let's build a society of absolute freedom. Where there are no rules, no moral rules of God. So you can sin. Do anything you want. Let's build a society like that. So you have your own wife because there is no sin and there is no rule. So 10 people will come and in your presence they will rape her. Then you have your own daughter that is 9 years old. There is no rule that don't sleep with children. No rule, no sin. They will take her at 8 years old, undress her, and 10 people will rape her in your own presence. No rule. Wow. Let's build that society. Let's build it. Let's experiment. Because you say, you Christians, you are the ones who are making life difficult in America. We want to do abortion. Go ahead. Let's build a society for you. Let's just keep you all in one state. Where you do whatever you want. You want to, men want to marry men. Women want to marry women. You want to do no rules. Let's do it. Even they who vote for that, even they will not survive one day. They will not survive one day. Because men will marry men, women will marry women, then there will be no children. Then they will just die, and that's the end of all of them. Then we will enjoy life. We don't need to fight them. We don't need to fight them. Nature itself is fighting them. Life does not walk out of the kingdom. We are made to function on the earth by those principles of the kingdom of God. It is because of the kingdom of God that the earth itself was formed in the first place. It is just a copy of those moral principles and laws. And We are made to live by the kingdom rules and laws. Nothing works when it's against the moral laws of the kingdom of God. When we avoid to live according to right, we don't cheat God. We are not smart. We don't outsmart God. We outsmart ourselves. God's laws can never be broken. Any man that attempts to break God's laws eventually breaks himself. Those laws cannot be broken. You can only succeed in breaking yourself. Those people say, we want to build a society of absolute freedom. Men will marry men. Women will marry women. After they all die, nobody will remain. Who breaks? Not the law. The law still remains. But they die and break themselves. Okay, another person could come and say, no, but me, I don't believe that. I believe that if you don't deceive other people, there's no way you can live without deception. Everybody lies. Everybody deceives. Good. Let us go ahead and build a society of absolute deception and dishonesty. Somebody raise up your hand if you know what happens when everybody who lives in that society is just deceiving one another. Absolute distrust, absolute dishonesty, absolute, what happens? Tell me somebody. Anybody is smart? Anybody smart here? Tell me what happens. In English, huh?
You get a nervous breakdown.
No, tell me practically what happens. Everybody here, we have the license to live in dishonesty. Number one is distrust. Number one is distrust. No honesty. That you are free to lie. What happens? You want to say something?
No, I said it, but you said it.
Distrust is number one. Okay, when there is distrust, when there is distrust, absolute distrust, it means you don't trust your neighbor. You don't trust your wife. You don't trust your children. You don't know what to expect. There is no security. There is no tomorrow. There is no future. And this absolute fear. Fear comes. You cannot come out of your room. You cannot come out of your room. Nobody will come out of. Nobody will go to discotheque. Nobody will go and sing. Because if you go and do it, that will be the last time. So the reason they can do all these things and beat themselves in the first, no, me, I want to lie. I want to do this and that. Yeah, it's freedom. It's freedom of speech. It's freedom of this. It's because we are still here. That's why it is the church that is holding the world. That's why it says when the church is taken away, it becomes absolute distrust. It becomes absolute dishonesty. That is why it's saying the full revelation of the Antichrist is not revealed and cannot be revealed until the one that is holding it back, the church, is removed from their midst. It is because of all that they can even sin. They can have the strength to sin. Have to even breathe. Because once we leave, they will self-destroy. Because they will now be free to live by the law again, without the law of the kingdom. The kingdom has left them. So you are free to live and anyhow you want. Live in absolute distrust. Live in absolute dishonesty. And come and see the torture of sin. Everybody, that's what? Everybody on wheelchair. Come and experience the torture of living without the principles of the kingdom. Life does not walk against the principles of the kingdom. Life does not function. Earth does not function. Earth self-destroys. Man self-destroys when we refuse to abide by the principle of the kingdom. But when we abide by the principle of the kingdom, we rule over life. And somebody will say, so I want to live, I don't need to be honest to my wife. So I want to live in impurity. Good. Let's set up a society of absolute impurity. You will all die of AIDS the next day. Absolute impurity. You get a rotten society. Absolute unfaithfulness. So before you close your eyes, your wife is already sleeping with another person and is free to do it. Go and enjoy. It doesn't work. We'll get annoyed and go and kill somebody. Then somebody will get annoyed and come and kill you. It's one large prison. It doesn't work to live against the principles of the kingdom. Doesn't work. Life functions better. Life functions well only when we live right. That's why we must embrace kingdom principles. That's why Jesus was saying, go and teach them to observe. I don't need you to bring them to the church. He didn't say go and bring them to the church. Never in life. He didn't say go and give them born again and that's all. No. The key, the reason for people being born again is to be able to observe all I taught. If you could observe these principles of the kingdom, if they could observe these rules and lifestyle of the kingdom that I've taught you, go and teach them to observe. To observe. If they could observe the principles of the kingdom, they will overcome the world. If they could observe all these things I've taught you, these are the golden rules of life. They will rule in life. Go and teach them to observe all what I've taught you. If they could just abide and observe, you don't need to be doing deliverance services every year or every month. Just teach them to observe. No deliverance service. They overcome Satan and all his cohorts. If they will only observe, they will live in health. Health will be theirs. Just teach them to observe. Just teach them to observe all I've taught you. Then life will be easy. They will not suffer. They will walk in the high places of the earth. Just teach them to observe. A banker was, maybe you remember, these days when one banker was, I think it was in Hong Kong or Singapore, an Englishman was caught siphoning dengue and stole some money and did some operations and some money disappeared, and then they caught him in Hong Kong or something, 3 billion or something money he stole. When they brought him back and they put him in prison, he said, oh, thank God I'm caught. But you have been hiding all this day. Why do you say thank God you are caught? Well, you've been hiding this thing. He said, yes, because now that I'm caught, I'm at peace. At least I'm in prison. Now I know, because the suffering I was having before I was caught, when I was living in front, was more than now that I know that I don't need to hide anything. I don't need to keep on running. I don't need to. Now in prison, at least I sleep. Then in freedom, I couldn't sleep because I'm only thinking, when would they catch me? In case they catch me. In case somebody knows. So there is more torture in sin. Are you listening to me? You that are going to cheat on your wife, you that is going to cheat on your husband, you are living in torture. You put yourself in perpetual torture. Because you will always be thinking, oh, God forbid, if she knows, what if he knows? What if he gets to know? If he's staying, the longer it takes for you to be caught, the worse for you. Because if it takes 20 years before you are caught, then if you are never caught, it's even the worse. Because then you get old faster. Because you are always, every day of your life that you are not caught, you are always afraid that you will be caught that day. So people die because of these things. You kill yourself when you don't live right. So the banker proves it that it doesn't worth it to live in deception. When they caught him, he was rejoicing. Because now he can live in peace. It's not worth it for you to live that kind of life. Are you listening to me? A worldly Jewish psychiatrist said something. Oh my God, what was the time? I shouldn't worry about it. No more time. Okay, I will soon get over it. Let me just make one point again. That's the problem. When I get into my gear, that's the end of it. It's only Pastor Rufus who knows it. When I'm into it, that's it. A renowned psychiatrist did a research about the key to a better life and health mentally, mental health. A key to a better life and better health mentally. He said 70%, he concluded that 70% of the people in the psychiatric mental hospitals will not be there if they only abide by the principles of the Beatitudes. By the principles of the Beatitudes. By the Nagorno example. He says he discovered that the most powerful principle as a psychiatric to heal mentally diseased people is what he discovered in Acts chapter 20 verse 32. That it is better to give than to receive. He said because most people in the psychiatric hospital, they are there because they are always complaining about something. No right attitude to life. People in the psychiatric hospital, they are always depression. It comes from depression, then, oppression, then everything. So because they are always thinking, oh, my husband doesn't love me. Well, he's not coming back from work on time. Maybe he's doesn't. Why should you bother yourself about him not coming back on time when is it not marriage? You are supposed to give. He said if you understand that principle, it's better to give than to receive. You will not be saying, well, he's not saying I love you. Well, he's not giving the gift. He's not saying compliments. So So by the time you calculate everything it's not doing, you're already in the psychiatric hospital. You're already sick. And you already kill yourself. You're turned crazy. But instead of you to think, how can I give him love? How can I make him happy? If you are busy, if you concentrate on giving life to others, how can I make him happy? You are busy giving life, you will never be saddened. You are busy making people happy. You are busy just blessing him. You are busy just, fulfilling his needs. You will never lack. But when we overlay, life is not meant to be egocentric. When you are egocentric and when you are centered on yourself, you self-destroy your mind. Because then you are complaining. You are thinking about myself. Well, I am not. You are demanding from life. Everybody, you are never satisfied. And lack of satisfaction and then grumpiness and then complain, that is what destroys the mind. But life is supposed to be stewardship. We are supposed to be giving life. Then other women, some people could say, well, I am 40 years old and I'm not married yet. Nobody is taking me. I'm 40 years old. When will my husband come? I am not married yet. Why am I 40 years old and nobody is? Maybe God doesn't love me. I will never give birth to children. When will that be? Even if God will come. Even if that will of God will come, then it will be too late. Then Then you get crazy. But if you are saying, oh, I am 40 years old and I'm not yet, but I'm free to serve God. I have my advantages. Let me make everybody happy. Let me serve God. Let me bring joy to people's lives. Don't concentrate on what you don't. Don't just concentrate. Don't live your life in regret. Don't begin saying, I am this. Don't think about yourself. Life is not egocentrism. Life is not supposed to be meant to be concentrated on your life and thinking about yourself. That's why you go crazy. Give life. Life is about giving. Life is about stewardship. You are supposed to give. Think of how to give people love. Think of how to give people joy. Think of how to make people happy around you. Think of how to put smile in people's eyes. Think of how to be beneficial to your world. If you are busy giving like that, you will never be in depression. If you are busy giving like that, you will never suffer mental breakdown. If you are busy making other people happy, you will always reap happiness. Are you listening to me? That's what the psychiatrist says. If people can only learn, he said, if I can teach my people to believe that principle, that it is better to give. Never think about people who didn't give you, didn't greet you, didn't say hi to you, didn't love you, didn't. If you could be busy just thinking how you could love other people, how you could give to other people, how you could keep on busy doing something good to others, just keep on giving. If you could be busy giving, you will never be busy curing yourself. Because you are always well. Kingdom principle. Go ahead and clap if you want. It is not normal to live wrong. It is not normal to sin. It is not normal to be egocentric. It is not normal. It is not our nature to live against the principles of God. It is rather our nature to live for God. That's when we are healthy. It is rather our nature to live right. That's when we are prosperous. It is our nature to be honest. That is when things work for us. Our organism is built to function in the kingdom. Our organism is built to function according to the kingdom laws and principles. We are not built to function against it. It is anti us, anti our nature, anti-nature, anti us to live against the principles of the kingdom. Sin is not normal. Sin is abnormal. That's why it creates death. It generates death in business, generates death in culture, in social society. It brings about death in relationship. It kills relationships. It kills normal life. It kills family. It kills health. It kills human. It is abnormal to live wrong.